Hey guys, welcome to Wrestling Daze Clips, the second channel. We're doing another of these reacting to videos. We're reacting to this article from Whatculture where they talk about SummerSlam. SummerSlam 2023, it's in the books. It was last night. My voice is a little bit shot after a 9-hour plus live stream. A big thank you to everyone that joined us live for that show. Of course, we do premium live events, Raw, NXT, SmackDown, all on the main channel. We're not here for that, though. We're here to review the Whatculture article, the ups and downs from SummerSlam. So this isn't about, like, bashing the article or anything along those lines. It is an honest reaction to the show, just sort of using the article as a bit of a reference point. So we should be touching on all the matches and all the key talking points. So with that being said, let's get to it. I can tell you there are 4 downs and 8 ups from SummerSlam, which sort of suggests that Whatculture and the people at Whatculture enjoyed it. I thought it was a good show. I would have scored it about an 8 out of 10. So that kind of gives you an idea of where my mindset is at. So let's get to it. I can tell you the first one is something I agree with. So they're saying that Ronda Shayna was a noble failure. Now, I actually took something from it. I enjoyed it. It's a match I don't know that I would necessarily go back and revisit, but there was a few moments in there that I really enjoyed. There was a great head kick. There was a beautiful knee that I believe Rhonda delivered. We saw some great judo throws. There was a real display of skill that was being shown here. It was MMA skill, not really wrestling skill, but it does translate very, very well. And this was something that I think the fans just weren't really up for to start with. I think a lot of people went into this with a closed mind. They didn't want to see it. They're not fans of Rhonda. They just kind of shut off from it. And so I think the Detroit crowds, who we have to say weren't the loudest of crowds anyway, they just did not turn up for this. But watching at home, I got bits from it. I enjoyed it. And as I said, there was a few moments in there that I took away. But I still have to agree with this being a down, because even though I enjoyed it and I got something from it, the crowd didn't. Right? The crowd didn't. So I actually quite like the way they've worded this. A noble failure. I think even Whatculture are kind of recognizing that there was some real skill that was on display during this encounter. Next up, we've got making the ring announcer useless. Now, I've got to tell you, there is not much that I disagree with this article on. This is one of the things I disagree with. So they're saying that they brought Samantha Irvin into the story, and then during the match, she just sat there and didn't do anything. She was like a potted plant. She was useless. What was the point of it? Now, I really disagree with this, because she is an employee and she's impartial. That impartiality is really important. She can't be getting emotionally involved. Like, that completely goes against the job. Like, she can't be getting emotionally connected to one of the performers. Secretly, internally, she absolutely can. But it was not her choice to be dragged into this. It was Logan Paul that mentioned her. And to be honest, I don't want to see her jumping up and, getting involved, trying to stop the person from handing the brass knuckles over, or whatever it might have been that Whatculture wanted to see her doing. I think it's right that she sits there gritting her teeth, like really, kind of willing on her man, of course, but she's got to stay impartial. It's important for that role. So not, in a way, she kind of plays that Miss Elizabeth role, kind of sitting there, just being like, keeping herself to herself, being polite, trying to do the right thing. It reminds me of Miss Elizabeth, who, was very rarely, like, if ever, trying to cost the other person that Macho Man was facing, or shouting out or saying anything to them. She very much was polite, kept herself to herself, And for me, that's what that role is for Samantha Irvin. So this is one that I have to disagree with, because I think if she had got involved, that really changes the perception of her, and that could actually have long-lasting effects. So, yeah, for me, this was not a down. Then we've got Finn Never Forgot. This, I've got mixed feelings on this one, to be honest, because they're saying that, you know, if he really never forgot, why did we not see that over the last 7 years? And the reason why I've got mixed feelings on this is because I don't think this story was long-term booked. I don't think that they said to themselves, right, in 7 years' time, we'll do the rematch, right? If they were going to do that, then yes, we should have seen lots of references to this over the last 7 years. But I think the truth is that we have found ourselves in a situation where it's Finn and Seth for a title, SummerSlam. Of course you're going to call back to 7 years ago. It was such a big thing. Of course you're going to reference it. So we saw Finn coming down with 7 on his body, written onto his body. We saw Seth come down with the ring gear that he wore from 7 years ago. We saw the buckle bomb into the barricade, but this time it was Finn doing it to Seth. There were some lovely callbacks and lovely moments that I think definitely have a place in this match. Definitely have a place in this match. But I think to criticize and say that, you know, what was the point in saying 7 years and all of that when there's been no reference to it? As I said, I think this is something that we have just kind of stumbled across. I don't think this was long-term booked. Obviously, you know, 7 years ago, it was Vince that was in the driving seat of the booking. Now it's Triple H that's in the driving seat. And so for me, I think it's right they referenced it. I think it's harsh to kind of lay into that and say that they haven't done anything over the last 7 years as a reference. But I'm not going to say that I disagree with this. I'm going to go with mixed. And the reason why I'm going mixed on this is because I think that it is true. We still could have dropped the odd little thing in there. I think that even so, you know, this is something, it was such a big moment, him winning that Universal and having to relinquish it, that we could have been doing a few little things in there that then would have been great to have referenced in the video package. So I've got mixed feelings. I agree it would have been better if we would have done it, but I think it's a bit harsh to kind of mark SummerSlam as a down for that reason, you know? So that's why I'm mixed on that one. Then we've got this. I'm mixed on this as well because they're calling it a slog. The main event, Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, they're saying was a slog. And I'm mixed on this because slog is not the word I would use. They're saying that in between moves, there was like a 1-minute, 2-minute period at the start of the match. And they're claiming that might have been to have like stretched the time out. But this show did not need stretching out. It's not like we got to the main event and we'd only had 2 hours of a show and, oh my God, we need to find an hour. This thing, by the time we got to the main event, I think had already been going like 3 hours 15, 3 hours 20, something like that. We didn't need to stretch anything out. So I think they were being slow, methodical there. I think there is a formula for Roman matches. He does tend to go slow in the early stages, and then it really builds. We obviously get in the extra elements. We had Solo getting involved. Of course, we had Jimmy getting involved. I'm mixed on this because I don't agree it was a slog, but I don't agree that it was boring either. I think that there was a lot of fun moments here. You know, the whipping with the strap, that was brutal. The kendo stick getting destroyed. Obviously, Solo coming. What about the moment where Solo looks like he's about to turn on Roman mid-match? Then, of course, you get the Jimmy thing at the end as well. But there's plenty of, like, close pinfalls and dramatic moments. Like, for me, this was exciting. It was a thrill ride. I was not bored. They're saying it's over-dramatic. A boring over-dramatic. I don't quite get it. I don't quite understand. How can something that's over-dramatic, like there's loads of drama, become boring? Unless you just become, like, desensitized to it. But I wasn't. I wasn't. I thought this was good, but recycled is the word I agree with. I think these matches are very formulaic. I think that we stick to a formula, and I completely agree that this was recycled. That was my feeling, actually, when Jimmy got involved. It's like, I feel like I've seen this before many times, where someone's got involved. Someone else has now turned on someone else. This time it's Jimmy turning on Jey. You know, we've seen people like Sammy and the whole Sammy incident. We've seen people arriving and costing someone a match like Solo did at Clash at the Castle. So this does feel like we're going down roads we've been down before, and it doesn't feel like it's got the originality. The only thing I would say is I'm very excited to see what happens with Jimmy and Jey. I'm very excited about that. I think a one-on-one match between them two is going to be a lot of fun. I also think Jimmy not wanting Jey to become tribal chief, that was never what this was about. It was about bringing down Roman, but it wasn't really about replacing Roman. And I think Jimmy not wanting to have to acknowledge his twin brother, I can understand it. So I don't hate that, but yeah, I don't know that it's the direction I would have gone, because it does feel repetitive. It does feel recycled, but I have to disagree with the boring slog part of this. Right, now we're going into the ups. And again, I got a few mixed feelings in here, but I agree with a lot of this. First one, they're saying that this was a battle royal that was done very well. And I've got mixed feelings about it, because I think that it was fine, but I don't think there was anything really exceptional here. I know a lot of people will say, well, what about LA Knight winning? That's actually a separate point that comes up later in this article. So for me, mixed feelings on this one. They're saying that it was good to see like Chad eliminate Imperium. It doesn't do anything for me. It was good to see Santos like getting engaged with Austin Theory. Well, of course he would. They've got a title match coming up. They don't like each other. I mean, I feel like if this is going to get an up for just doing the bare minimum, then I don't know. I don't really get it. Like I can't remember anything. Even the surprise of Omos was disappointing. Like we all saw 24 names on that graphic. We wondered who the 25th would be. It turned out to be Omos. And so yeah, they ganged up and eliminated Omos. We've seen something like that like a billion times before. It wasn't bad, but I couldn't give it an up. I couldn't give it an up. I couldn't say that SummerSlam gets an up for this battle royal. So yeah, mixed feelings on this one. Going viral as delivered. I agree with this. I think this match delivered. I think Logan, continues to look amazing. My criticism of him will always remain the same. I think that he has got the foundations to be a great professional wrestler, but he just refuses to be a professional wrestler. He comes in for SummerSlam. He comes in for Money in the Bank. He comes in for WrestleMania. He's there for the Royal Rumble. If it's a big show, he's there. Anything else, don't bother calling him, right? He is someone that will rock up, put in a great performance, but then he only has to focus on this. Like, since Money in the Bank, he's known about being at SummerSlam. He probably knew who his opponent was going to be, hence why we did the Spanish Fly to the outside. They've had plenty of opportunity to talk in person, on a phone, work out certain spots. Like, make no mistake about it, this thing was great and really enjoyable, but it doesn't answer the question of what would Logan be like if he was there week in, week out, because you can't shock and impress and do this stuff if you are there day in, day out, week in, week out. Like, that's when it becomes a grind. And I think people respect the grind. So lots of different statements can be true at the same time. Is Logan got all the abilities to be a great professional wrestler? Yes, he has. 100%. He could be fantastic. But equally, is it acceptable to say that there's still massive question marks because we don't see him on a regular basis? Or is it acceptable to be frustrated with him because he only turns up to the big shows? All of that can be true as well. But for me, in regards to judging this, It was a great performance once again from him and Ricochet. And so, yeah, I have to agree. This deserves an up. Then we've got Drew's best wasn't good enough. I'm going to agree with this. I enjoyed Gunther versus Drew. What I would say about this, though, is I don't think it hit the heights we were expecting. I really was thinking this could be match of the year contender for WWE. We saw Gunther and Sheamus at Clash at the Castle just blow everyone away. I don't think this was anywhere near that level. I don't think this had the same impact as that. I think that this still delivered a really fun match, but we're probably looking at a 3.75 to a 4 kind of a range rather than 4.75 to a 5 kind of a range. For me, there'd be like a whole star difference between this and the match at Clash at the Castle. But even so, it still delivered. It certainly didn't like under-deliver. It wasn't like a disaster or rubbish or boring or anything like that. Still really enjoyed it. And so I have to agree, it still deserves an up. Still deserves an up. LA Knight arrives. Yep, this is what the people wanted. The people got what they wanted. And so he will move forward now. I think it gets an up. I mean, I made the comment before. It wouldn't have bothered me if he hadn't have won. I think that as long as what I was looking for is I wanted him to come out of this with something, right? He either comes out with the win or he comes out with a feud. If he'd have been eliminated by someone and say Omos had eliminated him, and then LA Knight got back in the ring and started laying it into Omos, right? And helped eliminate Omos. And then he and Omos are like brawl into the back. And it's very clear that is going to be the next feuds for LA Knight, right? I would have been like, well, there we go. He's going to get loads of TV time, loads of promo time. There's loads of stuff he can say in a promo about Omos, right? Omos is big, imposing. It's going to be a real test. I mean, don't forget Omos's recent feuds have been with Brock Lesnar, Braun Strowman. I know he's not the most exciting of names, but for where LA Knight is right now, that would be a challenge. And so if he was going to come out with a feud, something to get his teeth into, because he hasn't been having feuds. So he hasn't been getting consistent TV time until recently. So I wanted him to come out with something, either the win or a feud, a juicy feud, something that he can get his teeth into. And he comes out with the win. So for me, this is what the people were hoping for. And on a night where the people likely went home glum and sad, at least the majority of people had this to hold on to. Number 4, women fight to get the fans back. I agree with this. I think it was a beautiful mess. I think there was lots of botchy moments in here. Really some moves where it just didn't seem to be clicking at times. Crowd were very quiet at the start, but then lots of things went down that I think really caused quite a bit of drama in this towards the end. Obviously, the Bianca sell was amazing. Didn't know if she was legit injured or not. I think they did an incredible job. I would have liked to have seen Jessica Carr given the cross. I mean, that is the sign that fans know means this is legit. I could understand them not wanting to mess with that either, but I think if you've planned this spot and you know that this is what's going to happen, then I think you probably could afford to chuck one of them in there. I don't believe she did. I don't remember seeing it, but Bianca sold amazingly. They started helping her to her back. As soon as she started running back to the ring, then you knew that she was fine. She picks up the win, which was amazing. And then, of course, we get Iyo. But we're going to come back to that. What I'm going to say is that, they did work hard to bring the fans in for this to not just be a disaster. I'm going to give it the up. This one I've got mixed feelings on, and actually this is one of our last kind of mixed feelings. They're saying that this endorsement from Brock is an up. Now, I've got mixed feelings because an endorsement from Brock very much is an up, but the whole build of this story meant I don't know what his problem was in the first place. I don't think I ever really found out why Brock was stopping Cody. What was it about? So it's hard to care when he now is going to endorse Cody. Was he just testing to see if Cody was the guy? Because if so, I would have really appreciated that as part of the builds. And it's not like the criticism Whatculture had where we're saying that Finn and Seth should have planted seeds over the past 7 years. Like, there is no reason over why the space of the past few months we couldn't have told this story better. I just don't think this story, I don't even know what this story is, right? I've heard Cody's side, but I mean, I don't think we really ever established what Brock's problem was. So for him now, all of a sudden, to raise Cody's hand, yeah, it's good to get that endorsement. Maybe it'll mean something to the casual fans. But I think to us that watch all the shows, I'm just left going, why has he done that? Why? What does this mean? I mean, it means the feud's over. It means that Brock is going to endorse Cody. There's some positives there. But equally, what was this about? Why has he now endorsed him? What did it mean? What was his problem in the first place? So for me, I've mixed feelings. I can't say this was a down, but equally, I can't say that this is an up. I don't think I would have included this in the article. Next up, double title switch sizzles. Yeah, I agree with this. As we said, the women fought hard to get the match back. They got the match back. And then obviously we got the fun at the end with Bianca winning, then the cash-in. The cash-in was done really well. Dakota coming out as well. I agree. I loved it. I thought this was really, really good. And then our final one, Cody triumphs. Well, I think Cody was always going to triumph. I had him down as being the winner. I'm going to agree with this point, though, because the way they did it was excellent. It was believable. You know, Cody was getting battered. It was very reminiscent of Brock destroying John Cena. And so, yeah, I agree with this. I think that having him almost getting counted out like numerous times, overcoming that, obviously the turnbuckle, the exposed turnbuckle, that helped kind of level things a little bit. And yeah, I mean, Cody battled back. The way it was structured, the way it was produced, I think they did an excellent job with the match. I think that Brock is very difficult to beat and for it to look believable because he is a former UFC heavyweight champion. This was easily my favorite match of theirs that they've had. I enjoyed it. I think it was a good blow-off match. Yeah, I've got no criticism. I'm quite happy to say that this was an up as well. So, as I said, for me, overall, there's definitely some bits in there that we've touched on in this video that I think were just a bit off, that just stopped this from being mind-blowing. I think the big shock was probably the Jimmy moment at the end, which, you know, for reasons we've gone through, maybe didn't hit as hard as maybe if it had been like a Bray return. I think people would have loved to have seen Randy and maybe done something with Grayson Waller. Obviously, the news about Big E, you know, it might have been cool if we'd have heard from Big E and got like the latest from Big E on this kind of a stage. I don't know. I just felt like people at the end of our watch along were saying there needed to be more surprises, or they wanted more surprises, or the surprises we got like Omos and the Jimmy thing just wasn't good enough, and that seemed to ruin it for people. And I can sort of see a little bit in that, but I don't know that you can ever really go in expecting surprises and then be disappointed when you don't get the surprises you didn't know that you was getting in the first place. You know what we were gonna get, the matches, I think they delivered. There was nothing here that I hated. I think it all delivered. I think it was a strong offering, and for me, as I said, it shakes out at about an 8. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let me know if you enjoy these types of videos as well. The reaction to the last one was amazing. I want to keep doing them if people are going to keep enjoying them. So I think it does allow us to kind of recap things quite nicely, actually. It's, in a way, a bit of a review of the show, but in a different sort of a structure. And again, you know, massive shout out to Whatculture. I think they do great work over there. The articles they're putting out are fantastic. So it's nothing but a compliment that we're using this article as like a reference, allowing us to kind of share our own thoughts. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Appreciate the support as always. I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.